Good day, everyone. My name is John Eliades, the owner and founder of the IE International Group of Companies. Today I'm going to speak to you about when people say, where is my money? And one of the things you've got to know is know your numbers. And the language of knowing your numbers or understanding the scoreboard is accounting. Okay, so if you are in business, and we all have a business, all of us have some sort of business. And if you don't have one, you need to be asking yourself the right questions, because I guarantee you do have a business. So let's just look at, there are five categories in financial statements in the language of the scorecard of business. Okay, the first thing is that you've got to know is sales. Okay, or you can call it income. You can call it income. What is your sales and what is your income that you are earning? Okay, then you incur expenses to generate that income. You incur expenses to generate that income. Now, there will be a number, and that number is net profit or loss. And if you make a profit, the government will come and take a percentage of that profit because of tax. Okay, so that's how your business is. There's sales, less expenses, and net profit. But what makes sales? What makes sales? And then we go into the balance sheet. Okay, the balance sheet is, you have something called an asset. An asset is something that generates you income. And you have something called liabilities. And I told you there were 5 categories in financial statements. The one is sales, the second one is expenses, the third one is assets, the fourth one is liabilities, and there is a fifth one called equity. And equity is the net between your assets and your liabilities. So if this is a scorecard of business, if understanding accounting is a scorecard of business, and you hear on the news that America is going to do a bailout of X trillion, 3 trillion. America's in debt of $20 trillion. Where is that money coming from? Where is that money coming from? And if you look at what is the language of business, and you see where people are issuing $1 trillion bailout, $1 trillion bailout. So what is money? What is money? Have you ever heard what rich people work for? Rich people do never work for money. Rich people always work for assets. So, and the system is designed for you to benefit when you buy assets. And let me tell you this. You go and you do sales, and you have expenses, and you have a net profit. But there is something that you can do. You can go buy an asset and borrow money to acquire that asset, and then the banks, the system will finance you to buy that asset. And the interest, the cost of the money to buy that asset. So the bank will say, listen, I am going to charge you 10%. That's the cost of giving you the money. They are going to charge you interest. That interest is going to be an expense. That interest is going to be an expense, and that interest is going to decrease your tax liability. And if it decreases your tax liability, that means the government's making less money because you are buying assets. And what do the rich people do? They buy assets. Now, what do poor people do? Poor people work for money. And the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. You see, poor people don't have businesses. They have a salary. And under a salary, you get taxed from 18 to 45% tax. That's why I'm always saying everyone must be in a business. Everyone must be in a business. So the question is, you have your assets, less liabilities, and then you have equity. And equity is your true wealth. because the net effect of your profits, your sales, less your expenses, the net loss or net profit goes down to equity. But after you have paid the government the tax. So you have the net profit and loss before tax, you pay your taxes, and whatever is left goes to equity, because your whole purpose is to increase equity. But the accounting formula is assets equals owner's equity plus liabilities. Owner's equity plus liabilities. So if you increase your assets, you're either going to finance your assets through owner's equity, through the money you make, you can go finance your assets, or you're going to increase your assets through your liabilities. Now, that's where people say you must not be in debt. But rich people are always having good debt. And they allow their good debt becomes a tax deduction so that the government actually pays for them to build assets. So if you really want to become rich, you've got to understand the language of business, because we are all in a business. And if you say you're not in a business, you could be in an employee business. You could be in an employee business, you're still earning a salary, you're still getting your tax deduction, but you're never going to become rich because you don't have assets. The only thing you should be working for, if you ever want to become wealthy, you got to work for assets. Now, how do you work for assets? You got to understand what assets make you money and what assets get you a tax deduction. So you can go to a bank and say to the bank, I want to borrow money to buy your shares, the bank shares. Bank's never going to give you a loan. Bank's never going to give you a loan on that. You go to a bank and you say, I want to buy the building that you guys are in. Will you finance me for the building that you guys will pay rent on? Great, the bank will give you the money. So you've got to understand what assets you can borrow on, and when you borrow the money, you get a tax deduction, and some assets you won't get a tax deduction because all businesses must understand tax. And you need to protect your assets because the only thing you're working for is assets. Now, what type of assets are there? First of all, to me, the best asset there is businesses. If you buy businesses, because businesses are built by entrepreneurs and they take the risks, and a business can go from anything from 30% to 200% return. Businesses are unlimited, that you can keep opening businesses to make money. But businesses is an art. You really got to be an entrepreneur, willing to take the risk. You have to have leadership qualities. You've got to build a team around you. Now, please, guys who say they own a business and they're a law firm, all what you do is you own a job, you don't own a business. A business is when you have a team that around you and it can run by itself without the owner. A doctor cannot, he says he's got his own practice, he doesn't have a business, he owns a job. Okay? Now the other kind of businesses are investment businesses. You get real estate, you get businesses, and then you get stocks, bonds, we call them paper assets. Okay? And the one thing about paper assets, that's why one of the best investments you can do is investing in yourself. Because if you don't understand the business you're going into, you should never go into that business. Okay? And the other thing is that's becoming also business is gold, silver. You can even put Bitcoin in there. When you start buying something that is going to go up in value, okay, and you start buying those commodities and you start saving your money, not in cash. Guys, cash is the worst investment you can have. Cash is only a means of exchange, one means of exchange, because I could exchange you with gold, I could exchange you with Bitcoin, I could exchange you with shares in my business. There's so many other ways of exchanging, but you never store cash. Rich people will never store cash. Rich people have one objective, and that is to build assets. Me, I personally specialize in building the asset of businesses. I love building businesses. because businesses is such a great art. It helps, and your leadership qualities, it helps give job opportunities, it grows, you invest in yourself, there's risk, there's adrenaline. It is a great concept on how to make money and how to become wealthy. So if you had 5-6 businesses is not self-owned, it's when it has employees and the business is running. That's business. Then you can go and have a few properties. I'm always telling my clients, let's build a business, and the profits from the business, let's buy assets. Okay, let's buy assets, and then let's invest in paper assets. And I like investing in small businesses. I really do not like investing on the stock exchange, on bonds and all that, because I don't understand it, or I don't have control of it, and I don't like that. But I like investing in other businesses, in ideas, taking them to the market, because there are great returns on those investments. But when you make money, you can never store money. Money has to be invested in one of the 4 assets. Either businesses, either real estate, either paper assets, or commodities. That's where your money must lie. Cash is not an asset. It's not an asset that will make you money. Okay? When I'm saying what is my definition of an asset, it is something that generates you money. A business that generates you money. A business that sales exceed the expenses, has a net profit, will bring me to my equity, will increase my equity. That is the language of business. Real estate, all the time. How does real estate increase my wealth? Now, why do I never go first into real estate? Because real estate has most probably got an 8 to 12 to 15% return on investment. You can't really live on those investments, especially if you're starting up. But when you start saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to own a business, all what you need to do is say, what product or service am I going to do to sell to the market for exchange? That exchange will be most probably money. That money, you will convert it into an asset. And when you start buying assets, when you start waking up each day to build assets, that's how you become rich. Do you guys getting this? Thank you very much, guys. This is John Eliades, your success strategist, and I will see you at the top. Cheers, bye.